Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my video. What I learned from the Transformer article was that learning language models, more sophisticated ones, will parse entire sentences together instead of like individual words. And this is quite powerful because it will understand the context behind a sentence. For example, if you have the word interest, as the article pointed out, um, interest can mean a lot of different things depending on its context. And with machine learning language being able to look at the entire sentence, it can infer what interest means in a given context. The article gave the example of interest, like I have an interest in you, or interest rates in a bank. If you give a sentence that specifies like rising interest rates, then the AI will, and the machine language learning model will be able to pick that up. So now we can go on to the app that I built. Basically, a long time ago, well, 2 years ago or so, I was writing a big paper on migraine pathophysiology, 25 pager, and I wish I had Instabase because this would have made this so much easier. But this kind of brings onto my point of, looking through scholarly articles and doing research on medical like devices or diseases or conditions through scholarly sources, because ultimately those are much better than just putting it onto Google, going through some clickbait article that is filled with ads and information may or may not be entirely scientific. I think going to a website like PubMed and searching for that information is infinitely better. The only downside of a website like this is that it is written for scientists to be used by other scientists, and it is not really targeted for, people like me, where I'm a business student and I don't really understand a lot of the jargon that's being said. So therefore, I wanted to use kind of AI to break down the, complicated topics and complicated vernacular that is being used, and um, to make it into a more digestible state, or more, let's say, easier to understand state. So for my app, I got two articles. I didn't actually use this in my paper, but I remembered how CGRP was like a big protein that was potentially responsible for the cause of migraine headaches. And so for my app here, I first tailored the questions to like this kind of case study to this article, and wanted to see like more specifically, like get a refresher for the content in this long paper. So first, I asked it what is CGRP, and they said it plays an essential role in migraine headaches. I then wanted AI to summarize this in like a lengthy way. I sort of understand this, but obviously we could narrow it down to like 1 to 2 sentences if the user doesn't want this much of a summary. But somewhere in here, what I was interested about is it said that CGRP, like if you block or attenuate was the exact word in this blob. If you block or attenuate CGRP release, then that's going to stop a potential migraine headache from occurring. And so I wanted to specifically see where that is being done, and how that's happening. And if I click here, eventually it will find me where exactly this sort of blob occurs in this long paper. And you can see by the answer, the CGRP blocking is done through receptor antagonists and anti-CGRP antibodies. So it's all occurring like within the synapse, or in the neuron between the synapse and the terminal of another neuron. In that space, that is where all that is occurring. Um, I knew a bit about migraine headaches and the pathophysiology of it, but I wanted to go on to a topic that I wasn't quite so aware, so I didn't have as many specific questions, and that was Alzheimer's disease. So I got here another lengthy scientific paper. In fact, this one is the complexity of tau in Alzheimer's disease. So I did learn about tau a long time ago, but let's say I wanted a refresher. So first, every time you go into a scientific article, it's a good idea to look at the headings, because they'll give you a good idea of what you want to expect. So thankfully, AI did that beautifully to me. It gave me all the headings and all the interesting stuff that this article talks about. And tau sounded interesting. It appeared in a lot of headings, and it's kind of like the main theme of this article. So I wanted to see what are like the characteristics, and I put it in bullet format, and it listed out the bullet characteristics of tau. This like summarized it very nicely here. And somewhere in here it said that tau aggregation and propagation are associated with tauopathies and neurodegeneration. I quite wasn't sure what that meant, so I asked the AI, and it gave me a beautiful response. It says tau propagation refers to the spread of abnormal tau protein from one neuron to another in the brain, leading to the formation of NFTs, or in this case, it's neurofibrillary tangles. And this is then what ultimately contributes to the degeneration, to the neurodegeneration of Alzheimer's disease that will then unfortunately impact people cognitively and cause them to lose memory. Um, and I wanted to further, I kind of just told you that I wasn't entirely sure if that was the truth. So I wanted to further get more context on cognitive decline. And the AI did a beautiful job. It told me that it's amyloid plaques, which is absolutely true, and then neuro NFTs, these neurofibrillary tangles that will eventually lead to, medical complications with this terrible disease. Of course, preventative measures. This could all just be fine-tuned to any sort of topic that you are interested in learning. And really any disease, any sort of article in PubMed about any disease, this sort of template that I have written out here could fit it. So I did like preventative measures. I saw in the preventative measures, it talked about how other diseases could have tau. I thought that was exclusive to Alzheimer's. So I asked AI what other diseases have tau. And so maybe these diseases here, this, all these Pick's disease and Parkinsonism and PSP, all of these other horrible diseases are linked to tau. So maybe tau, maybe Alzheimer's is linked, or it definitely is linked through tau, but maybe there's some sort of connection that science has to further explain. And while yes, I could have physically read through this whole paper and got that, AI just nicely and fastly summarizes it to me and puts it in a format that I understand. I mean, if I try reading this, like this is pretty dense and hardcore like information to try to digest and understand. Um, and then lastly here, I just created like a summary, a different style of summary for this Alzheimer's document. I just wanted to see like what are the five, I believe, yeah, five most important topics that this article pieced out. And you can feel free to read all this. I could have, of course, condensed it, but it's nice to have a tool like this to when you're writing a research paper, you can sort of just get like a very big overview and go into as much depth as you want. And then you can always reread this and click to certain parts that look appealing. So I think this is a very useful tool for just students and for even in further like past school to do research about maybe conditions. At least you'll have scientific information that is I would say much easier to digest and understand using this sort of format than reading through this on your own, or even worse, using those websites I mentioned earlier. And lastly, of course, you can just get works cited information very easily by asking the AI what are the authors and so on and so forth. So yeah, this was the app I built. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Thank you.